All right, good morning again. So this is LinkedIn, and we're going to talk about insights, ideas, and opportunities to help you navigate the system. So we're going to start by talking about some of the significant updates that we're seeing on LinkedIn. And one of the things I want to share with you that's really interesting. So I've been on LinkedIn for, I don't know, well over 15 years. And LinkedIn in the past would make significant updates every 6 months and then really significant updates every 18 months. In 2022, I have seen many new changes come about almost on a monthly basis. So they are ramping up to share new ideas, to make opportunities for people to connect a little bit easier. And they are definitely moving towards things like videos and sharing of information. So you got to really pay attention to what LinkedIn's doing. So let's just start with a few things that we think would be relevant to all of you. The first is the skills section. So if you look here, when you pull up your skills on your profile, this is essentially what the top of it's going to look like. You're going to see skills. You're going to have your top 3, which, by the way, is easier to move those around now. And if you click on the pencil over on the right of this box, you're going to have a box that comes up like this. And it's going to say skills. It's going to show those same 3 skills again. And interestingly, it's going to share some other things that are relevant to the to that. So for me, you see interview coaching, and you can see that I'm certified in that, and you can see that I've got 2 experiences where I have mentioned interview coaching. So if you are looking at this and you see that pencil to the right, this is what's going to pop up next. Edit interview coaching. And it's going to allow you to assign that skill to a job, to your education, to your license and certifications. It could be volunteering, it could be organizations, a number of different things. So we're recommending that if you are in a job search or you are trying to brand yourself in a certain way, that you do this, that you apply certain skills to your jobs or your education or your certifications and licenses. Because from a job seeker standpoint, recruiters are using this as part of their search mechanism to help find people who have been doing certain skills recently, not just in the skills section, but seeing it under certain jobs, more recent jobs. And it's becoming a way that you can differentiate yourself and immediately show somebody, when and where you use that skill. So if I have clicked these, as you can see, I've clicked this under the most recent 2 jobs. This is how my recent job looks like. So it shows you down here that I've got interview coaching. Now, I would recommend that you don't use more than, say, 5 different skills or apply 5 different skills to any one of your jobs or anything. I think it starts to look kind of cluttered if you make it that big, long list of all the skills that you've used at each job. So find those that are going to be differentiators, those skills that kind of stand out and will make a difference for you. Oops. The next thing we want to showcase is Career Break. So Career Break is a new way of explaining a gap on your profile or gap on your work experience. And this has been one of those constant questions that we've had over the years. What do I do if I've had some kind of a gap? You don't always have to explain it, but some people want to. And this really came about because I think of COVID and a lot of people being displaced or having things change. I think also generationally, the younger generation really values sometimes taking time, and yet there's still a need to sometimes explain what they were doing. So if you are looking at your job screen or the work experience, and you want to add a new role, essentially is what you do, this is what it's going to look like. This is the same form as if you were going to add a new company and a new role to your profile, but you have a choice of doing Add Career Break. And when you do that, you're going to hit on the type, and it's going to come up with this menu. So it is a fixed menu. You can't add something of your own. So you have to choose one of these: of bereavement, career transition, caregiving, any of these. As you see, they're all in alphabetical order. However, what's really nice is that if once you do that, you can go fill in the description down here and explain whatever it was. So if you feel like you're a little restricted by those choices, at least you can go into that box and say whatever it is that you want to say. And I think that this can be very valuable for anybody who's in the middle of a job search right now and is trying to explain what they're doing. I think it's also a great place to show some more energy and vitality. Let them know what's happening in your world. Another little snippets of things that we're seeing that are new on LinkedIn are the profile video. So you can only do your profile video from your phone. You can't do it from your computer. As far as I know, I've not been able to see, and I've Googled this and haven't found it, but you can do it from your phone. I believe you can do it from a tablet, an iPad or anything like that. And you can put in a 30-second video. It is restricted to 30 seconds. So that's a little limiting for some people, but you can make a video, and if you hover over a person's photo where they have this, and see you've got the purple ring for anybody who has this video now, you kind of see them move just a little bit, and then it opens up the video and you can hear what they say. So if you do 30 seconds of this, I think it's a real game changer for, quite frankly, ageism. I think the people who are older, who are concerned, oh gosh, somebody's going to look at me and think that maybe, I'm in the sunset of my career and I'm not really, able to show my energy and my stamina to keep up with, people who are younger. I think this is a great way to have this quick little video. So somebody hears you talk, they see how you interact, and you can share very quickly a little bit about who you are. I would practice this ahead of time. I would have your pitch down, ready to go. And by the way, you can do it multiple times until you're happy with the version that you want. But I think this can be a game changer. I think this also works for somebody who is younger, who's thinking, you know what, I'm competing with so many other people who are in their 20s and they're trying to launch their career. This can be a game changer for me to show that I am very articulate, or I have a certain skill that can really come across in the video for them. So the profile video is just the first step I think LinkedIn is taking in making LinkedIn a very video-centric platform. We're going to see a lot more of this from LinkedIn. And if you're not comfortable with it, this is something that I would say, start working on just a little bit. Now, the other thing that you might have noticed is that you can actually record your name. It's interesting. Yesterday, somebody shared, one of my clients was going out to an interview and shared the name of the person that she's going to interview with today. And so we looked up her profile, this person's profile together, and this person had a unique first name and a unique last name. And the first name, I could come up with 3 different pronunciations of that name. And she did not have this thing used, the little sort of the bell, not the bell, but the speaker here that you see. She had not recorded her name, and I wish she had, because my client and I were talking about the fact that she didn't know how she was going to pronounce her name, and she was hoping that when the interview started that this person would share her name. And then, but we even talked about, if she didn't, how my client would say, I'm so glad that I'm here, and thank you for meeting with me today. I want to make sure that I pronounce your name correctly. Can you tell me how you would like me to pronounce your name? But that would have been solved had she used the name pronunciation. There's also the pronouns. You don't have to do pronouns, but you certainly can. The way you access all of this is by this little pencil over here on the right. That's the thing that you click on if you want to go change anything that's kind of in this top form. But the pronunciation, I think, is something that almost everybody could do, unless your name is something, Ann Smith. I would do that. I do it for mine. You'd be surprised how many people pronounce holy, and there's about 4 different ways I've heard people say it. So I do it for mine. So building your network, this is one of the big things that I think people struggle with. And so we want to shed a little bit of light on how you build your network. And the thing to focus on is where you might have a common circle. So professionally, do you do the same type of work? Are you both in accounting? Are you both in marketing, or are you in some kind of medical position? So what is that profession or that niche that you're in? The other is industry. So are you in the same industry? Because as you are trying to make connections in your career and find that next great job, or if you are in a job and you are just trying to expand your network, that industry is going to be really important to you. So you want to be looking at people who are in the same industry. You also want to find people that are in the right type of marketplaces. So if you are in the San Francisco Bay Area, you want to be able to build up this area. That doesn't mean that you can't connect with somebody in New York or Atlanta or Singapore or Berlin, but chances are, if you are trying to build your career in a certain area, you want to hit that region or metropolitan market. This is also a really important thing to think of if you are moving. We've had a lot of people that we've worked with in the last 2 years, 3 years, who have moved to other markets, and they struggle to find that next job. They struggle to build their network because they aren't thinking ahead of time. Oh, I've got to make connections in that other area. So if you are thinking of moving to Denver, and it may be a couple of years off, start building your network right now. Start connecting with people in Denver. My assumption is if you're moving to Denver, you already know at least one person. So start with that one person. And then if people, you notice that when you connect with somebody on LinkedIn, you often will then get something in return on LinkedIn that says, hey, you might, want to connect with these other people too. Do that. Just keep connecting with people if they fall into any of these circles. So if you're getting connection requests and you're like, I don't even know this person, why would I connect with them? Well, do you have something in common? Are you in common in that professional niche? I think I'm getting that word niche wrong. Are you connecting by industry? Are you connecting by region or metropolitan market? Or do you even have common connections? Sometimes I'll get a connection request. I'm like, I don't know this person at all, but they're in the San Francisco Bay Area. We know 30 of the same people, and there's something that's kind of in common with us. I'll go ahead and I'll accept that connection because it doesn't hurt me. I'm not sharing with them, pictures of my family and things that are happened personally. And from a networking business standpoint, that could be advantageous. Who knows? The other thing is you want to have target companies. So if there are people who are reaching out to you, or if you are trying to connect with people who are in a certain company, you want to have that list of target companies and you want to accept those connections, because one of the hardest things that people share with us is they want to get into a company, but they don't know anybody there. And then lo and behold, somebody has sent them an invitation request and they're in that company, but they're like, I don't know them. I don't know what I should do. Well, you're going to say yes. You want to connect with them. Liz and Ellen, did you have anything that you wanted to jump in with on this? Because I know this is something that you two cover a lot with our clients, and I want to make sure I'm not, taking the whole microphone here and not giving you the chance to jump in. No?
Yep. Go ahead, Ellen. I think you popped up first.
Body language, right?
Yeah, right.
One thing that I was thinking is that a lot of people will say when they're targeting companies, the next statement is, but I don't know anybody there. And so I think that's something just to consider that LinkedIn gives you the benefit of, is being able to find people even if you don't know them and still having that outreach. So a lot of times there's a misconception that you can't target a company because you don't have a one-to-one contact, but there's a lot of ways that, we showcase that with people or help people to let them know that that's, that's not a problem. That's not a roadblock. It may be a little bit more difficult because it's not a personal referral, but there's still outreach that can be done and things that are good. And that's something that I was working on this week. So that's why it's front of mind.
Liz, did you want to start on that? I think I heard you.
Gosh, I feel like there are so many approaches that you could take with this, right? I think there are several different options here. As somebody who's been in airline logistics, you probably have a network that has some individuals in airline logistics as well, right? So beefing up your immediate contacts is a great way to start, and then looking at those second degree connections at the companies that you are interested in, and saying, oh, I know somebody who knows this person, and having that individual, your first degree connection, make an introduction can sometimes spark a more immediate response than a cold reach out. But you shouldn't be hesitant if you don't know anybody, right? If you feel like I've connected with everybody that I could possibly connect with that I actually know, and I don't have any immediate connections that could introduce me to somebody here, a cold reach out with somebody that you have some commonalities with, that you feel like is relevant to the positions that you're looking for, is what's the worst that's going to happen? Have an abundance mindset when it comes to connecting on LinkedIn. People will oftentimes tell me, like, I don't want to waste somebody's time. The worst that's going to happen is that they will ignore you. So when it comes to LinkedIn, you don't have anything to lose, and we always recommend just shooting your shot.
Right. Now, I will say, if you kind of going back to sort of the way you couch the potential reach out to them, I would take a different approach rather than say, hey, I'm wondering, what opportunities do you have? And would you be willing to talk to me? I think if you ask them what opportunities do they have, they're going to immediately say, just go look at our website. I'm not going to do anything. But if you could reach out to that person and say, hey, I found your profile on LinkedIn, and I've been actively looking at opportunities at Southwest, and I'm trying to stand out, and I know that will help me with your recruiters if I have an internal connection. Would you be interested or be willing to connect with me? Because all of a sudden, if you are a first degree connection with just one person in Southwest, then the recruiters, you're a second degree connection to them. You're going to show up earlier on their list. So you could take that approach. You might also say to them, if you've already applied to something, and you reach out, you might say, hey, I found your profile on LinkedIn. I've applied to a couple of positions at Southwest, but when I realized that you and I do similar things, I was hoping that you might share with me a couple things that I could do to help stand out in front of your recruiters. And so you could do that as part of the text when you're asking for them to connect. So I think you want to find some way that makes it a little bit like, what's in it for them? Will they feel like they're truly helping you? And you have to give them something a little bit more specific to help you with, rather than just say, hey, will you talk with me? So you might try those approaches. Those are things that, by the way, we strategize with people on all day long. Like, okay, what's the person that you want to connect to? How are we going to write this language out? So Ellen and Liz and I, we're here to help with those types of things if you ever have those questions specifically about how do I get in front of that company. Okay, we're going to keep moving along. So this kind of all ties in. So some of the things that people kind of overlook is who's viewed your profile. I know that some people look at this, and in premium you get a much bigger visibility, by the way. I think in basic it's a little bit more limited, and if you don't know this, there's always going to be a basic I guess platform in LinkedIn, but LinkedIn's definitely making it a little bit more of a pay-to-play type of a platform. So premium, if you were in a job search, I do recommend that when you're in a job search, you pay premium at least on a month-to-month basis, because you do get these other analytics and visibility. But who's viewed your profile? It is important to be looking at this to see who's taking a look at you. It can give you information, like if you can see, like, why would these people even find me? How would I show up? You can kind of figure that out by starting to look at their titles. What type of industries are they in? And you see at the top here where you've got company, industry, location, interesting viewers, and all filters. LinkedIn actually rolled out a few months ago the ability to have these filters on here for up to 90 days. So you can kind of look back 90 days and you can sort people out. But if people are looking at you, go look at them. Who are they? What made them potentially look at you? Do they fall into any of those circles? Are they part of the same profession? Are they in the same industry? Do you have a whole bunch of people in common? Are they at a target company that you're looking at? So don't be afraid to look at them. And so if you have that thing turned off that says, don't let anybody see who I am when I'm looking at them, I would turn that around right away, because you want them to see that you looked at them, because that's how we all figure out how there might actually be a connection. So you definitely want to be looking at this. And LinkedIn put out the study, the results of the study about a month or two ago. They did this study called Weak Ties, and it was from 2015 to 2019. And it was essentially figuring out how were people making connections and getting their next job. And what they found out was that most people did not get their next job from their first degree connection. They got it from those second and third degree connections. And so often this, who's viewed your profile, those are second and third degree connections. So when they did this analytical study, they realized that the people who use that viewed your profile and actually then looked back at another person, one of the looked at the profile of one of the people who looked at them and then even reached out to them, those led to opportunities. I think we as a society get a little shy about that and think that we're going to be intrusive, or we want to kind of be, secretive. We don't want to, we're kind of concerned what people are going to think. But LinkedIn, I don't remember what the stat was. Liz or Ellen, maybe, one of you remember it, but I want to say it was well over 70% of new opportunities came from people doing exactly this, looking at who viewed their profile, checking out those people, reaching out to them, and then having opportunities land in their lap. So definitely recommend that. Another thing is you might want to be looking at people who, so if you connect, so this is somebody, actually did this last night. So this slide, this is somebody I connected with yesterday. I've known her for like 3 years, just realized that we hadn't been connected. And so I connected with her. And when I did that, I came up with people you may know. So you're going to see it there and you're going to see it down there. So people you may know are some of those people that may be connections between you and that other person. This is an opportunity for you to potentially reach out to someone else and say, hey, I saw your profile on LinkedIn. You and I are both connected to so-and-so. And again, thinking of those 5 circles that we had up, this may be an opportunity for you to connect with somebody in your profession or your industry or your geographic area that could be advantageous in your career. This, by the way, is how you often find that when you connect with somebody, you all of a sudden get 2 or 3 or 4 invitations to connect. And you're like, why are these people coming out of the woodwork inviting me to connect? Well, it's people who are using the people you may know. They're trying to build their network. We all want to be found more easily, and you are found more easily if you have more connections that make sense for whatever it is that you do professionally. So the people you may know, it can be a real game changer in connecting with the right people. The other thing you want to look at is people also viewed. I think people sometimes overlook this, but this can be fantastic. So let's say you are trying to break into a company, like Frankie had said, Southwest as an example. If you're trying to break into Southwest and you are looking at somebody's profile, you can look over on the right and see people also viewed. You might find other people who are at Southwest or Delta or Alaska Airlines or whomever that might also be in the right sort of level or area within the company where it might make sense for you to connect with them. So these things kind of get overlooked, but I think they're valuable.
I want to just chime in on this one quick point, Julia. The people also viewed section is a great thing to check out on your own profile to make sure and do a gut check of, are you being lumped in with the right people? For me, like my people also viewed categories full of resume writers and career coaches. And if it weren't, I would raise some questions about, am I saying the right things in my profile? So take a look at that and make sure that it's people that are doing things that are related to what you're doing or want to be doing.
Right, absolutely. Okay, so think about LinkedIn. It is like your interactive newspaper. You want to be engaging. So I know most of you probably are familiar with this, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but anybody can like. Now, like has 7 different emojis now. So you have the like and the celebrate, love, funny, all of these. So, support, insightful, curious. So you can always do that. And I think it's a great way for it to show up on your activities, and it's a great way for somebody else to notice that you saw their post. It doesn't necessarily drive anybody to your profile, but it does kind of feel good. And if you aren't used to doing things on LinkedIn, this is where to start. Just start liking, just so that sort of eases you into it. But then you also want to look at commenting. So if you hit the comment, you're going to come up with that add comment down below. And you can say anything that you like. I recommend that when you comment, if it's on a like a thought leadership type of a post or a blog that's really informational, try to say something that shows that you read that, or you read the blog, or you watched the video and you have some really good information about it too, and maybe share that or ask a question. You can also repost. By the way, for many people, it might still on your profile say share. It is changing right now to repost. It doesn't show up on everybody's profile. It's still being rolled out, and there's 2 types of reposts. We're not going to go into this today. We talked about this in the LinkedIn that we did a few months ago, and I'm sure we'll revisit it again. But these are just ways that you can use LinkedIn as an interactive newspaper. Easy things to post and ways to increase your visibility. If you don't know how to post, and you're like, what am I going to post? Here's the things that you can post. You can just thank someone. Hey, just wanted to thank so-and-so for helping me out with my resume, or I wanted to acknowledge so-and-so for, paying for my coffee yesterday when we were talking about job search strategies. It's a feel-good thing to put out there, but you also acknowledge somebody else, and that's where you would tag them and use this @ symbol, which you see down in the tip. You could also, as a post, just announce something that you're going to do. Like we always post Just Ask Julia. You could review something that you just did. After this Just Ask Julia, you could go onto your LinkedIn profile and you could say, hey, I just attended Just Ask Julia and I learned these things about LinkedIn. You could create a poll, which I think you have to have premium for, but you could create a poll where maybe you want to ask a question about something that's happening out in the market. Very interesting. You get people interacting and sharing ideas, and gosh, you could actually connect with a lot of people who you are not actively connected with by doing a poll, because other people are going to end up seeing it. You also could endorse somebody for a skill. I recently was looking into this, and I'm not a huge fan of the endorsing, but I understand that recruiters are using it a little bit more today. So maybe this is kind of being resurrected a bit. You could also give a recommendation. If you haven't recommended anybody that you've worked with in the past, you should. And this is a great way to pay it forward to somebody and let others know what they do really well. And I think it's a good reflection on you as well. And lastly, follow companies, follow our company, but follow every company on your target list. And then that way you can see what are they posting, who's doing the posting, what can you comment on when it comes to the posts that they're putting out there. You might be able to make an internal connection, but following a company down here where you see this little follow button, I recommend that everybody do that with all of their target lists. And then join groups, because joining groups is a way for recruiters or other people to find you where you might be far away in terms of your degrees of separation. Groups can actually help others find you that otherwise you would come up on page 12 of their list in their search. So joining groups, and it's based on your circles. Join groups that might be based on your profession, your industry, or anything that you might have in common. All right,